All right, I'm going to explain what limited agency consent addendum is used for, dispel a couple of myths, and show you how to fill it out. So here's what a lot of people are confused about. So as I'm looking for this, all you need to do is start typing in limited agency and it will pop right up. It's the limited agency consent agreement. So a lot of agents will not include this in their initial offer because, for one, they don't do all their research and they don't even realize that the other agent is with their brokerage. Or two, they might not even realize this is required unless you are representing both sides. So the fact is, this form is required if you are representing the buyer and the seller's representative is anybody from your brokerage. So you're probably required to use this a lot more often than you might realize. So let's go ahead and put the buyer's name in. And then the name of the seller, put John. So in this case, I'm representing the buyer, and then the agent representing the seller. I'll just grab one of our agents, Ben Freeze. So pretty simple so far. You write down name of the buyer, name of the seller, who's representing who, and obviously they're both with the same company. So moving on from that, you go down here and you put in the property address. Again, if you like, you can just use the MLS number, hit the load button, it will autofill there, hit update fields, and you got your address right there. So moving on through here, I just want to explain a little bit about this just so you understand what you're having people agree to. So in here it talks about the principal broker, and I'm just going to read that. Every real estate agent must affiliate with a real estate broker. The broker is referred to as principal broker or branch broker if the brokerage has a branch office. The broker is responsible for operation of the brokerage and for the professional conduct of all agents. So as you can see, this is kind of explaining to them the principle behind this document. And I do recommend you have them read through it so they understand, because the fear here is water cooler talk, right? You're at the office, you're chatting about your clients, the other agent happens to be at the office with you, and all of a sudden you're both talking about opposing clients on the same transaction and maybe divulging stuff that shouldn't have been divulged. This is a heads up to them. You know, we both work from the same office. Obviously, as a Presidio agent, I hope your goal is to never divulge anything about your clients. There's no reason to bring them up in any conversation, especially if there's a chance of an agent on the other side of the transaction hearing it. But it talks about that and some of the limitations, some of the risks, so that the seller can understand exactly what they're getting into. So moving on down to the bottom, you have to choose one of these two things. So A is one agent. The buyer and the seller consent to, and you'd put your name here if it was you. This is if you're representing both sides. I highly recommend you never do this. It is extremely dangerous in my mind, and it's also a disservice to your client. I have yet to meet an agent who is capable of representing two sides of the transaction and truly fighting for the best interests of both sides. Because obviously the buyer wants less money to be paid and the seller wants more money to be paid. The buyer wants more repairs to be done, the seller wants less repairs to be done. I could go on and on. As an agent, you're supposed to be fighting for your client. You're supposed to be championing their cause. I've never seen it done where it's been done properly. So I'd highly recommend you bring in another agent to help out the other side. So in this case, you check that two agents from the same office are representing the two different sides. And then you're ready to go. So it's a pretty simple form. You don't even need an acceptance deadline or anything. It's just a consent agreement. It's not an addendum. So once it's signed, you're ready to go. But I can't stress this enough. Make sure this is signed prior to submitting an offer. You don't want any surprises, anything that could put liability on your shoulders or any type of risk on your shoulders. Just avoid it. Get it signed by your clients, get it signed by their clients, and then you sign it yourself.